Hey guys, welcome back to Big Leg Hot Rods. Just glutton for punishment here, slinging some mud. It's one of them things that has to be done to make your car look smooth and slick. And this is definitely a smooth and slick build. Unfortunately, I have to do all this work, but don't feel bad for me. It's going to look great when I get done with it. I did a layer of fiber fill on the where the welds are, and then I went over that with a skim coat of filler. This is just the first primary coat. I'll have to go back over it a few times and get get the little low spots that have been created. But overall, I'm really pleased with them. It's looking great. Also, moving forward on the engine build, I got an intake manifold from Evil Bay. Turned out to be great. Had a little problem, a broken part here. I think that's the map sensor, but I went ahead and re-welded that with plastic welded that and fixed it. And it even fits my 3-bolt wireless throttle body. Clears the water pump and all that. So I'm really happy with that. 3 or so injectors were stuck, so I've got them soaking in carburetor cleaner, and hopefully I can get them to move. If not, I'll have to find some injectors. But the other change is going to a returnless fuel system. I had this set up for the truck intake, which is a return style. This LS style, Corvette, Camaro style is a returnless, so I have to modify my lines here and just change this guy. And in the back somewhere, I've got the fuel pump regulator or fuel pressure regulator and filter there, and I'll have to mount that back in the back of the car somewhere and just trim that line back and make it work. And so I'll just have the one larger feed line coming to the intake. No big deal, nothing to it. Just minor little changes. Just getting the frames cleaned up here as well, getting all this cleaned up, and all this will be cleaned and painted and detailed when I get done. But for now, I'm starting body work, and that's kind of what I'm going to be doing for the day, sanding and reapplying. I got to get it a little bit cooler in the shop. Yesterday, the heat, it was 100 degrees or more here, and the heat was affecting this Bondo. The cure rate was like super fast, but it didn't affect this quality as far as being applied. It just dried fast, and I had to keep adjusting my hardener. I just had to keep adjusting the hardener until I can get it to where I can work with it for a few minutes. But like I said, all of it's stuck. It's good. I'm going to do some more sanding done, and we'll get it looking good and ready for some primer in here. Okay, so after 3 days of sanding, and I'm far from done. You can see a little bit of the rough spots here and there, but overall, I'm really pleased with how this is turning out. I'm really happy with it. I can imagine this all painted body color and just shining like a new penny, but it'll be a blue penny. Anyway, got a little spot here in the middle of the firewall that's a little bit rough, but I've sanded probably 3/4 or more of the filler I put on the car, it's on the ground in dust. I've blown the car off several times and it's just coated. It's everywhere. I got to get the door open and get this place aired out. I'm getting a little loopy on the fumes from all this paint, but just wanted to share a little update, and we'll keep on trucking on it. I got a lot more to go, so hope you can bear with me on the body work. It gets a little boring and tedious, but it's worth it in the end. Today is more of the same: mud, body work, and just getting all this metal work tuned up to where I can do some primer on it. I've gone around and done the A-pillars and all the way around the windshield surround and down the doors here. I'm just continuing to work on it. Work on the fender and the cowl area and the firewall and all that's pretty close to where I want it. I still got a few little spots in there and I want to do around here on this frame rail. But I found some primer that from a past project, and got more than enough to do this car 2 or 3 times, so pretty stoked about that. It's some 2K primer that I've got from an old project, like I said, and it's damn near a brand new can. I honestly don't even know where I got it. I don't remember buying it, but all the other paint we've used in the past is same brand, and this is a 2K deal, so it'll be a lot thicker of a primer and a lot better for body work. So we'll get that shot on there here soon, maybe not. But in the meantime, we're going to just continue sanding and putting down some mud. It's not thick. I don't really care about that. Body work is going to require some some mud work. It is what it is. I'm not an expert metal guy, but their car has been under the knife a lot, so it's going to require some of that to be tuned up. You can't get behind A-pillars and beat them out and slick them up. It's a lot of welding is going on around the windshield, so I don't really concern myself with that. It's all part of the process. So once I get all the major metal work that I've done covered in filler and sanded and tuned up, I'm gonna go ahead and just DA all the body and get it in primer, because it's hard to see with the way the car is all different colors and all over the place. So get some primer on it, it'll help show those highs and lows and get the sides tuned up a lot better. And once I get some measurements for a condenser, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up and get it supported, because it's just flat sheet metal. I got to get some support underneath that gravel guard, and we'll get all these body parts blown off, and we'll fix the front fenders where I modified those, and just get all the little details tuned up, because I really have a goal to get this car to a car show. Whether I make it or not, I don't know. It'll probably be down to the wire. I'm not going to promise anything, but I'd really like to get it there just to show off the metal work that I've done. It would be in a roller form, so I'd have to trailer it, so that may pose some problems. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I've got a lot to do, and this is what we're going to do today: sanding, body work. It's just the best part of a build. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, right. And I still had a little low spot there, so I've done a little more filling, but now that part is flat. I just got to go back and reprime it so it'll match the rest. I did get the fender bolt panel here, I guess, to hide the rest of these bolts on the driver's side. I got that made up. It's just studs, so you'll bolt the fender up from the bottom, and that's what it looks like here when it's installed. And still got to mend the front end and dress the front to match, you know, kind of the look that's going on here, but I left it long, so I'll have some material to cut off and modify and go from there. But man, that's a lot of work. I'm telling you, body work is the #1 thing I dread, and I'm deep in it right now. All the trim's been shaved on this car, and on both front and back glass has been flush fit, so there's a ton of metal work all the way down the side, and the hood's got to be worked on and filled a little. But like I said, we're making progress. I got still waiting on some material. I got to find some material for the wheels, that I band the wheels and widen them. And really, in all, it's at the body work stage. All the metal work is done, save for getting the new gravel panels, you know, straightened out. But I want to wait until I get a AC condenser in there so I can modify it to fit around that nice and snug. Car intakes in. You know, things are happening. It's just slow, but we're getting there, and we'll keep on trucking, keep on moving forward. It's all we can do. So continuing to move right along here, I'm going to go ahead and fill this gap here, the seam where the quarter panel overlaps the door post here, just because I don't want to see it. I want it to be smooth and slick. So when you open the door, you just see a smooth panel and all this, you know, this bumpy transition from where the factory did the I guess that's brazed in with some brass or something. I don't know. There's gap there, gap. All this is gap in here. I just want to gotta get rid of it. It's not necessary. It's just for me. I don't care. I don't want to see it. I want it all to be smooth. So you got some ripples down in here too when they draw, when they put the panel in the draw around the die. So it rippled a little bit. You can see right through here. So I scuffed it all up. It's a little wavy down there, and that's all from just the draw of the panel around the die. The only bad spot on this car was the quarter panel. So all this is good and straight metal. It's just poo-poo work when they did it from the factory in the 60s, you know. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing up here. There's another seam here where they, braze the car all together, fill it in, and get this drip rail and all that door opening looking good. So when you open the door, it'll be nice and clean. Something to help do that, get in tight spots, is this little belt sander. I picked this one up from Harbor Freight. It's really nice. I like it. The belt's holding up decent. I'm not really too easy on it, but it looks like I need to switch this one out anyway. But pretty happy with that. I got me in that corner and got me in this corner where a grinder probably couldn't get without chewing up the rest of the metal. So kind of do the same thing along the top edge of the door, and where I extended this edge a little bit, I had to weld a piece on here. So just going to fill that in. Even though the weather stripping covers it up, I still want to fill it because there's 2 or 3 little lines in there, little gaps I want to get rid of. So no big deal. Nothing structural, nothing fancy, just doing a little fill work. I welded this piece here to the door because that was just fit in and plug welded on the outside of the door here. And then welded that seam up, and I got a little bit of cleanup to do. And we'll body work that also. And I'll come in here and do the same on that, where that seam was. And then when I get to the door, I'm going to pull the door off and do it separate because I know it needs a little work on the bottom edge, notorious for rusting. So I'll get down in there in the channel in the bottom of the door and work on that. But I welded this to the door because I got rid of the vent window, and that got rid of a lot of structure because there was a crossbar here that welded these two together. And it does have a little flex. So I'm hoping this right here will help stiffen that up a lot. It still moves a little bit, but I don't really think that's too big a deal. But I mean, it isn't anyway. That's what I'm going to deal with. It's not the first time someone took the vent window out of a car like this. No big deal. Just need to be just trued up and tuned up. Got rid of the door latch on the inside there, and a little trim piece. So I got to body work that and fill it. That's still pretty high, so I'm not going to just pack it full of mud. Get in there and work it down a little bit. So we'll keep on trucking. I'm going to put some mud on here and let it tack up and then start shaping it, and we'll keep on moving forward. I know it's pretty ugly right now, but this is just the first stage of many body working. I'm fighting the heat and mixing the ratio of the body filler a little bit incorrectly. I set it on pretty much kill, and it immediately hardens up. So I was working a little faster than I should have. So it's a little ugly, but it's sanding down. This filler is not affiliated with them, but it's a 3M filler, and it's really, really easy to sand. So it comes off great. I'm just going in and filling the gap in the door jamb, and got the jamb all smoothed up, and all this crumbly stuff will come off pretty easy. Hitting it with an 80 grit and dirt block, and just going around the entire door and the face of the door too. It's not done yet, but this is what I'm concentrating on. I'm trying to get it done. I'm kind of working in a short little window of time here, but I get what I can get done when I can do it. And little by little, it'll come together. So we'll keep on at it. So just that little bit of sanding, it slicks up pretty nice. This stuff smooths out really nice. A few little low spots, but I still got some filler there. I can sand that out, and I think that's going to look really good right there. I like it. I had to hit it with my fingers because this stuff was drying up quick, but it'll slick up and smooth out. I don't have any doubt about it. It's just a lot of work. I don't know why I do it, but you know, it's one of them things. It aggravates me to see the seams, which I know are supposed to be there. It's normal, but it's a custom car. It's gonna be slick. I like it. Still using the 80 grit to mow down the that outer crust level, I guess you could call it. That happens when you first apply the filler. And once I burn it down to a decent level, I'm gonna change back up to 180 and go back over it, and that should smooth it out and get a lot of the scratches out that the 80 puts in it. And then they go back over it with maybe like 320 or something like that before I prime the whole thing. And hopefully I've stripped the whole car down. There won't be anything on it that I have to tape off, and I'm just going to hose it down with primer and go from there and start doing the second level of blocking and things of that nature. That's a few more weeks or months down the road. Like I said, a car show I want to go to, but it's going to be tough to get it there, I'll be honest. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, yeah. I don't want to rush and make a mistake and cause myself to have to backtrack just to get to a silly car show and show a car under construction. Because it'll be a roller. I wouldn't even put the motor in it. That way I can show off the engine department and all that, how getting it all smooth. But I've got a lot of work to do still yet, so we will see. Now, I love a good car show, but I also like to see how the car got to where it is. I like the progress pictures. I used to have a subscription to Super Ride, I think it was, and they always showed under construction photos of the final car. I was always more interested in the under construction photos. Now, I can appreciate the hard work once it's done, but a lot of times I like to see how they did things so I can, take that idea back and do it myself. Having someone to do it for me and paying them is out of the question. I get this work is a lot of work because I'm doing it myself, but I get it's expensive too. Labor rate for custom cars, $150 an hour, I would think. But sometimes paint jobs are, just the materials, ridiculous price. So you can cut it out the labor of the process, do that yourself. You're saving yourself a ton of money. And honestly, the only way I can afford to do this hobby is to do all the work myself. Short of sewing, I can do pretty much anything I want. And I'm trying to learn. I'd like to learn how to sew, just the basics. But, geez, that's a whole nother process there. I did find a video by Ron Covell. If y'all don't know who he is, he's a metal master. He's built quite a few cars, quite a few metal projects, and he built some bomber seats that were really simple to build. Just a couple of bends, and really, I've got some dimple dies. He used dimple dies, so I can copy everything he did. And he shows the process and gives you the measurements. I really like the way the seats turned out. I'm just not too sure about practicality, aluminum bomber seats or steel bomber seat. I guess you can make it out of either one. But I also found another video of a guy who built some out of boat seats. I can go to Cabela's or something like that and get the cheap boat seats and use the padding and just modify the seat frames and make them look pretty cool too. It turned out pretty neat. So those are some options I'm considering for the interior for this car, just to keep it simple and keep it moving, and then later on down the road update the seating and the interior. There's also a page I follow on the Facebook for Falcons. The guy took Volkswagen Jetta seats, buckets in the front, and then he even actually took the back seat out and fit it in the car.
it fit pretty decent. I mean, obviously it's not going to fit right in and be perfect. There was some space around it, mainly in the front area where the seat rounds more than this one does. This is kind of squared off. On the Jetta, it's more rounded. So a filler piece might need to be built for that, but I mean, I really thought they looked pretty good. If I can find a picture, I'll try to put it in the video just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I mean, I know people know what bomber seats are and things like that. So just some thoughts running around in my head, trying to do it cheap but nice. And sometimes cheap and nice don't work together, but sometimes it does. I can get some junkyard seats out of a Jetta, and maybe I can find a pair that aren't in need of a serious upholstery job and run with them for a while. Or the bomber seats. You know, either way, there's options out there. I do have the stock buckets that came in this car, but they are wasted. The frames are rusty. They need new padding and new upholstery. So, you know, upholstery kits, you know, several $100s to $1,000, and then you buy the foam, and then you got to put it all back together on some crappy frames. So I got to restore the frame. So I don't know where my head's at with that one. I like the factory bucket seats. It's pretty neat looking seats in the console, but I've kind of gotten away from the console, so why go with the stock seats? So, I don't know. Like I said, a lot of ideas swirling around in my head, and which is constant with this thing, because I'm always thinking about what can I do next to keep the project moving. You know, what do I need to spend money on? What can wait? Things like that. And plus, it's kind of neat to see how you compare this car. Hopefully, it'll compare. In my head, it will, to a car at a car show that they've spent several $1,000s on, and I have a fraction of that in this car, and I'm almost to the point where I can consider done spending money on it. I've still got HVAC and some gauges and some wheels and tires, and I think I've said it before, wheels and tires are going to break the bank. So I'm going to have to sell my left kidney to get those, more than likely. So might pop up on the black market. Just kidding. We'll see. I can do some jobs and sell some stuff and figure it out. Speaking of the wheels, though, I'm still, I haven't even looked for the material to band them yet. I kind of lost track of that, or I didn't lose interest in it. I'm still thinking about it. I just haven't had the time really to go to the metal supply place. Plus, I'm probably going to end up going and buying another sheet of metal anyway to, like I said, build the bomber seats. If I decide to go that route, which I'm leaning that route, I like them, but I might go to the junkyard and just to see what's out there and take some measurements and see what I can come up with. I know I'm rambling, but I'm trying to keep the video interesting because I'm just sanding the damn car. It sucks to watch this crap. It sucks to do it too. I can already tell though, it looks a lot better. And throughout here, where it was several layers of metal, and then the step to get to that next level, it was just rough. So I'm really happy with the way that turned out and how the jam turned out. Trying to keep a lot of filler off the edge here. You don't want a lot of filler on the edge of your panels, but I don't want it to be pillowy. I want it to be laser straight. So once I get this pretty close, you know, line the door up a much more tighter tolerance on the door, and then we'll come through and skim over the whole door, all one big panel, and block it and get this body line laser straight and keep that pillow effect. When I stamp these panels, they tend to roll in, and I want it to be nice and flat and just like the door was sliced out of it, nice and tight. I still got a little work to do on the jam. This part of the jam looks good, front looks good, the top needed work. but the bottom looked good too. So it's not a ton of work, but it still needs some love. But you can tell all that filler I put on this car, 70% of it, 80% of it was on the ground, all over me and everything else. So you can just see that little pile right there. So it's not a Bondo wagon by any means. So it's all going to come off. So it's going to come off and be nice. Not be full of mud. Let's give you a close-up of the panel. It looks really good, nice and smooth. It's obviously still got dust in it, but I'm pretty happy with that. It looks a lot better than what it did. The step there and another, like I said, you saw the waves in the panel there, and it got rid of all that. So that's more of a smooth transition right here. And once that's in paint and shiny, it'll show off a lot more. Just accentuate the lines instead of these several other lines. And anything that distracts you from the overall look is what I want to get rid of. So I listened to the Boyd Coddington podcast, and they always reiterate the fact that if you look at the back of the car and go all the way to the nose, and whatever distraction needs to go. So kind of the idea, not as hardcore because those were some high-end cars, but keep that in mind, and a lot of the other builders keep that in mind, and that look continues to go on. That's how you get a clean build. So I'll keep going with this. I'm not going to continue to bore you and drag this on. But like I said, we'll continue, like I said, what I did with the door here. I'll do some more filler on that. This is the fiber filler, and I'll go back over it with regular body filler and get it slicked up. Just because I welded there and I wanted to kind of reinforce it so that the regular filler doesn't crack off in that area. But we're moving right along. Probably gonna have to end this video, and we'll be on vacation next week, so I won't have the time to do any more work. So I'll make this into a video, and that'll fill in the gap, and I'll get back on it once we get back from vacation, rejuvenated and sunburnt and full of beer, and just having a good time. So I really appreciate you guys tagging along and checking out the build. Appreciate the any comments, and feel free to share and like and subscribe, please, and help me grow this channel. Maybe get a little money going, and we can get some better parts and help me build this car. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching Big Lake Hot Rods. All right, so I brought a little project home with me while I'm away from the main shop, and brought the dash home to my home garage, and just gonna put some fiber filler over the welded part. Get this camera flipped around, and I'll show you what I'm doing. All right, so we're back in action here. I brought home some of the projects from the other shop that I work at in the car at to kind of keep momentum and keep going on it. Just get little details done. Little things you get done turns into a big thing. So I went ahead and where I've welded on this dash. This is all handmade. I've shown it before in another video when I made the console. I just wanted to finish welding all the seams on the front of the dash, and now I've gone over it with some fiber filler and got the front fiber filled, and so that can transition a lot smoother. Once I get this knocked down, I'm gonna coat the whole thing in regular body filler and sand it all smooth and get it nice and clean. I'm not gonna work on this end because I do not have gauges, and I don't have an idea. I've got a small idea in my head, but I don't have anywhere near what I want to start messing with over here. So kind of staying away. I can start welding in here, and if I have to, my idea is to make this concave, but I've got a brake booster back here, so I want to get it as concave as I can, and then have the gauges kind of floating. So once I figure out what gauges I want to use and adapt them to the LS platform, and I'll figure out a panel to make in there. I've got a rough one made, but I kind of messed it up, so I'm probably going to start over. But I want to make that panel removable so that I can access to the brakes and windshield wiper motor and all that is underneath there, and just so you can access it and work on it. I get to my switches, which are mounted up underneath here, so I would access the plugs and wiring and all that into there if I have an issue. So I want to make it, make it removable and so on like that. But I'm just going to work on this end, more sanding, more fun body work. It's just so awesome. I love it. And hopefully we can get this knocked out either tonight or tomorrow and get another coat on it. So I'm just going to sand it and get it smooth. I'm actually using this big roll I bought off Amazon, 80 grit. I have another one that's 180. I just got these two to start with. I'll definitely go back to them and buy the next 2 rolls of the progressively finer grit, more a better term, but body work stages. But this is 25 yards. Yeah, so I think I can't remember what I paid for it, but that's a pretty good deal. So you saw me spread my filler there. This is the lightweight body filler. It'll be sanded down smooth. I could have used some thinner on my finger to probably help glide across the transition here and get a little smoother. It's kind of rough, but it's not too bad. A little sanding will take care of that. And I know it looked like a lot of filler, but a lot of it's going to end up dust on the floor, blown away, tossed. So unfortunately, that's what you got to do to get it slick. You got to use some filler. Don't be afraid to use filler the right way and sand it off. It'll be all right. We'll let this tack up overnight, like I said, and cure. And it's getting late. It's almost 11 o'clock, and I'm just tired. Trying to get this knocked out at least and include it in the next video. More body work. This is just so exciting and fun. That's all I got going on right now. But yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll catch up in a little bit. Filler, whatever you want to call it, has set up and hardened. I'm going to come back. I got a little 80 pound like there. I'm going to go ahead and try to knock this down. And then we'll move to, I think next step I got is 100, which is fairly aggressive, but I think it'll knock down and nib this. It's still that sticky hardness. I wouldn't say sticky, but it's still that outer crust of filler. You want to knock that down and get it all that chalky white color, and then that'll sand a lot easier. This stuff right here will tend to bog up your pad, but let's see how it'll react and work, and see if we can get it knocked down and get it flat and true. Fiber filler. So I'll go over another layer with that when it comes time, and head over the dash part there and do the same thing basically. But like I said, I'm going to concentrate on this down here, get it all smoothed out and slicked up on the front too. And over here is going to just have to wait until I finish the gauge panel and figure out a way to attach it. So let me get over here and do a little hand sanding on these areas, and then I'll drop it down and get it ready to pick it here. A few little low spots right in here. I think just a little skim coat. So we'll have to go back to the 100 grit, or 80, I'm sorry, 80 grit, and knock this nib this back down and basically start over. So guess what? We're still sanding. I caught a low spot right here where this is a different curvature, and that's just because of the irregular shapes that I got going on. I could have pulled this panel out a little bit. I don't know. It's just so I'm going to apply a little more filler in here once I get this sanded down, and that way if I have another spot I can just spot it in. But I'm just going to mix. If I don't have to do any other filling here, I'm going to just mix a little bit and dab it in there with my finger. And I may get a mold of this shape and carve out a piece of something so that I can put the sandpaper on it and make my own block so that it's that shape, and just run it back and forth, something like that, so that it'll maintain the shape and be consistent. So, but just more sanding to do. And boy, is this so fun. You know, now you know why body and paint work is so damn expensive. I have 3 days in the engine compartment of the car, and it's still not quite 100%. Just a few little spots, but you can go ahead and call it another day of work. So 4 days just to slick up the engine compartment of a car, a custom car, mind you, not just a regular car, because a regular car wouldn't have all that kind of body work going on in the engine compartment. But you know, now you know why these custom cars are $1 million and up. Some of those big name guys, that's what they're costing. So if you can do a little work yourself, well, you know you're going to save some big bucks. The plan for the dash now, like I was talking about before, I want to try to get this consistent curve. So I'm going to take a part that I like, that feels right, probably right in here. I'm going to run a couple pieces of tape over it. Well, just one. And take my little gauge here, and this is a old school profile gauge, I guess is what you call them. And to give you the right profile of the dash right in there. I'm trying to keep the pins out of the filler because I don't want to just dig a hole or scratch it or whatever it might do. Just to be a little on the safe side, that's all. Okay. So now I can take a piece of cardboard or something sturdy that I can put filler on. Actually, I'm a piece of cardboard first, and then I'll make my scrape template for using filler. So I'll put some blob of filler in there, and I'll use this shape to go across that and get it consistent from this point on, and hopefully it'll keep it consistent with that. At least that's what I've seen in the theory should work. So we'll do that. Get that off of there. So I'll do a little bit here. That way I don't have to mix up a bunch. I've got a few little spots that I want to do on the top too, and then I'll come back and do the same thing for this profile, and that way I can make the profile the same all the way across the top. So let me get this cut. I think I have a piece of plastic that might work. Let me dig around for a second, and we'll get back on the camera and show you what I come up with.
All right, everybody. Just wanted to show where I'm at with the dashboard. It really hasn't made. I really haven't had time to work on it a lot this week. Getting ready for go on vacation and go out of town for a little bit. So just got the probably the final coat of Bondo on it. There's a few little spots here. I've still got to sand all this and get all these. I still have to sand this and get all these little spots out, but overall it's pretty smooth and the profile is right where I want it. So just getting it touched up, get a coat of primer on it, and get the bare metal covered up. And like I said, I'm gonna leave this for later. But the top turned out pretty nice too, and just a layer of filler where I did some metal work and nice and smoothed up. Top's looking good, except for that little booger part right there. I guess I dripped some Bondo on it, didn't realize it, but no big deal. Slicked up, and we'll continue on with body work. It's really just more of the same: sand, sand, fill, sand, fill, sand. And I'll throw some primer on it. So I appreciate everybody sticking around. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time with Big Lake Hot Rods.